Here's an example of what we'll be doing today. I want you to understand what you're actually going to be drawing. So I've drawn this little picture out here to help you understand. The first thing you want to understand is 1-point perspective. So this illustration here is showing you an example of 1-point perspective. First, to start off with 1-point perspective, you want to have a horizon line. And on that horizon line, you'll only have one vanishing point. The vanishing point can be anywhere along this horizon line. Once you've established your vanishing point, all lines will recede back to the same point. In this instance, for 1-point perspective in a cube, the first thing you want to start off with is the front face of the cube that you see here highlighted in yellow. Once you create the front face of the cube, all sides will recede back to that single point that you've created, called the central vanishing point. Because my cube is directly underneath the central vanishing point, we won't see any of the left or right sides. I don't want my cube to be see-through, so I'm not going to connect these two corners back to the vanishing point either. For the other cube, I started off a little bit to the left of the vanishing point above the horizon line. I've also started off with the front side of the cube as well. And to get the other sides, I've just taken these 3 points and connected them to the vanishing point. Again, if I wanted a see-through cube, I could connect this one all the way as well. To figure out how wide this cube is going to be, it's completely up to you. Anywhere between here and here, you can draw a vertical line. And then once you've established the vertical, you can figure out your horizontal. They need to connect. This illustration here shows you 2-point perspective. We won't be putting into this drawing right away, but you should understand the difference. For 2-point perspective, you're also going to have a horizon line, but instead of having 1 point like you see here, we'll have 2 vanishing points. These vanishing points can be represented as VP1, vanishing point 1, or VP2, vanishing point 2. You can also call them LVP or RVP. Once you've established your 2 vanishing points, you want to start off with the front edge of your cube instead of the front face. Once you've established where your front edge is, and that has to be anywhere between vanishing point 1 and 2, it can also be above the horizon line. The top side of that line is going to connect both to VP1 and VP2, and then the bottom half of that line is going to connect to VP1 and VP2. Once you've established the top and bottom connections, you need to figure out how wide this cube is going to be. So if you think about a Kleenex box, I can make it wider on my right side by putting a line here, but I could make it narrow on the left side by putting a line here. These lines can be adjusted anywhere between this one and this dot. Once you've established your 2 verticals to align with your first initial vertical, the top of the line on your right side is going to cross over to VP1. And the top of the line on your left side is going to cross over to VP2, thus creating your 2-point perspective cube in the center that you see in blue. Make sure whenever you're doing vanishing points, you don't draw them like this, like I did in my demo, because these lines can hit anywhere along that dot. You want to make sure that you're clearly putting one single vanishing point so that all lines can recede to the same spot. Now let's take a look at this image here. So what we're looking at is a picture plane, and this is our room. Think about a shipping container, as if we're looking inside of a shipping container. This yellow line right here represents my horizon line, which is also my eye level. And then this distance from here to here is about 7 feet. Now remember, for every 1/2 inch, it equals 1 foot. So in our drawing, this would be 3.5 inches. This pink dot represents the station point. Let's say this is Kalika. So this is how far Kalika is from the picture plane, which is the opening to our room. If I'm standing in the center, 7 feet away, this is my central line of vision. And this continues all the way through to the VP. Now remember, if our horizon line is here, the center of this back wall, which is here, is right there. That's our central vanishing point. I've created a few windows on our right wall. I've created a tile on the bottom, and I've also put in a simple item and a complex item and a 2-point perspective item in the center. These steps will get added in the second step of creating our drawing, on top of tracing paper. What you'll also notice here is there's a checkerboard floor, which we'll then create in the first part of our drawing. This entire picture plane in our paper is 6 by 6 inches, which represents 12 by 12 feet. So I just wanted you to understand how to see something like this and draw it in perspective. So the next few steps will tell you exactly how to see this properly in technical perspective. You want to make sure you have your handout with you. I have a T-square that has measurements on it. It goes up to 24 inches. I also have my 3 coal erase pencils, and if you have a green coal erase pencil, that'll save you a little time. Make sure they're sharpened, so have your pencil sharpener with you. I'll be using a mechanical pencil. If you have an F or an HB, that's fine as well. Mechanical pencil just ensures that it stays sharp longer. I also have a kneaded eraser, and it's optional to have a ruler, but it may help you. First, begin by taking your paper out of the pad, folding over these perforated lines, and removing your tattered edge. You want to have your paper horizontal instead of vertical. And the reason why we take it out of the pad is because anytime you're using a T-square, you want to make sure that you're latching it onto the bottom of the paper or to the sides of the paper to ensure a proper straight line. Never just put your paper down and then assume your paper is straight and use the board. So you always want to use the actual paper to get that measurement. I also press on the T-square when I use it, and I'm standing up to do this assignment. When I sit down, the perspective of me looking at my paper is a little off, and so I won't get my measurements the way I need them to be. I'll begin by using a graphite pencil to establish step number 1. So that's to get the horizon line 12 inches from the bottom of the paper. So I've hooked my T-square at the bottom of the paper, and I'm going to go 12 inches and make a mark. From there, along the 12 inches, I'm going to turn my T-square to the right side. My T-square measurements for inches are now on the bottom. So I'm going to raise my T-square slightly above my initial line that I marked at 12 inches. Make sure it's firm against the right side of the paper. I'll press down and then I'll draw a 20-inch line, but I'm going to reverse it backwards. So I'm going to start on this side and draw a 20-inch line. Now you can stop at 2 inches. See the elevation in my T-square here, how I can put my pencil all the way underneath. I'm going to actually move my ruler over so that I can get a flat line here and not the elevation. So I can always reverse this way and then get it lined up with my initial line and continue. From there, I'm going to find the first 2 inches from the right side. And you could always stop the line before you get to the first 2 inches to avoid having to do this step, and then erase. This should give you an 18-inch horizon line, which is 12 inches from the bottom of your paper. You'll want to find the vanishing point here, which is number 4 on your list. The central vanishing point should be halfway on your horizon line, which will put it at 9 inches. Half of 18 is 9. If you want to ensure accuracy, you can always turn your T-square so that you're latching from the right side of the paper. Find 11 inches from the right side of the paper. This will also, as I mentioned before, be at 9 inches. Okay? Make sure that your central vanishing point is labeled CVP. Moving on to step 5 in the process, we're going to establish the center line of vision. The center line of vision should be a 6-inch line that goes right through the horizon line and the central vanishing point. I'm going to turn my T-square vertical, hook it onto the bottom of the paper, line it right up with that central vanishing point, and I'll go 3 inches up and 3 inches down to create a 6-inch line. Go ahead and label that. From here, I'm going to establish my picture plane. I'll go 3 inches to the right and 3 inches to the left. So I'm going to put my T-square down. Doesn't matter which number you're on. I'm going to pick 12. I'll go 3 inches to the right and 3 inches to the left. So to connect these two and these two, I'll have a 6 by 6 inch square. You'll want to use your T-square for this part. Once you're done with your picture plane, erase your extra. Label this picture plane, PP. Now we're going to find our station point. The station point is going to be 3.5 inches down from the picture plane, and I'll just line this up at 7 and make sure I'm on the same line and continue down 3.5 inches. 1, 2, 3.5. And then I'll mark every 1/2 inch. At the bottom, I'm going to label this station point. That represents 7 spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that the viewer is away from the picture plane. So 7 feet away from the picture plane. Now you're going to identify your walls. So we're on step number 9. So because this is 3 inches from here to here and here to here, half of that is at 1.5. So you're going to put a mark here and here, 1.5, 1.5. You'll do the same thing on the sides as well, and then use the T-square to connect the line all the way through. So again, any measurement, I'll just put it at 8, so I'm not using the elevated part of my T-square. You can use a ruler for this part as well. You're going to mark 1.5 and 1.5. Do the same thing on either the right or the left side. And then use your T-square to complete the next steps. So you're going to hook your T-square on the bottom, line it up with the line you just created, press down, draw your line. Complete this for all sides. Part of step 9 will be to use your green coal erase pencil. If you have a green coal erase pencil, feel free to use that now. It'll speed up some time. Since we don't, we're going to use yellow and blue. And whenever we're doing, retracing a line that's already there, make sure you're still using a ruler or straight edge to get that line straight. So I've just flipped my T-square over so it's flat and I don't have the elevation here. So I flipped my T-square over. I'm going to retrace the center square that's then been created, and then a line going from that center square to the outside corners here, which is the center square to the picture plane corners. I'll start off with a blue and overlay that with yellow to create a green. Once you get your center square, proceed to do the corners. Moving on to step number 10, we need to establish a cone of vision. For this, we'll be creating a 12-point circle, but before we do that, we need to label our room. So on the outside of the picture plane, beginning in the top right corner, we're going to put all the letters, so A, B, C, and D, in the corners only. And then we'll have 12 numbers, starting with 1 to the left of A. We'll skip A, and then go to 2, 3, 4, and continue all the way around. Make sure your pencils remain sharp, so don't forget to keep sharpening them along the way. We're moving on to a blue coal erase pencil. In step number 12, you'll see that every letter is connected to 2 different numbers. So you'll see on your notes that you have A connected to 10 and A connected to 5. So you'll have 2, 4, 6, 8 different blue lines that connect one letter to 2 different numbers. So we'll find A and we'll find 10 and draw a line. Again, I have my ruler, or I have my T-square reversed to use it as a ruler or a straight edge. Make sure that these perfectly line up, because if anything's not lining up, it's going to throw off your drawing. From there, you're going to go to A and 5. And then continue using the grid that you see in the handout to complete this. I'll do it 2 more times so you guys understand what I'm talking about, and then I'm sure you'll get the hang of it. So you can see that there's 2 lines coming from A, so A10, A5. The next ones you see on the list are B8 and B1. So we'll do the same thing here. Find B to 8 and B to 1. Continue the same for C and D. Switch over to your red coal erase pencil. We'll need to identify the points here. Now there's some that are given on your handout that you already see. In number 13, step 13, you'll see 12, 3, 6, and 9. So we'll identify those first. On the picture plane, put one at 12, 3, 6, and 9. And then from there on, for every letter, you're going to see a blue line come out of there, 2 blue lines. And each time this blue line crosses over the first blue line, put a dot. And I'm using the red coal erase pencil to do this. So I'll do it again. A, as soon as the blue line comes down and hits another blue line, dot. We already have 3. So once I do B, you should get the hang of it there. The blue line coming from B as it hits another blue line, dot. Blue line coming from B and it hits another blue line, dot. Complete that all the way around. So you need to do C and D. You'll notice that there's 12 circles or 12 points here. So you'll need to connect all of these in the form of a circle. Make sure you're not doing straight edges. You want it to look like a circle to the best of your ability. To create the tile floor, we need to identify our marks in the ground plane. For this, we're going to use 1/2 inch increments. And remember, every 1/2 inch equals 1 foot. So I'm just going to lay my T-square along the bottom side between C and B and pick a number. And every 1/2 inch, you're going to put a dot. Keep these small so that you can stay precise. So the first one is going to be at my 8. Then I'll go another 1/2 inch at my 9. 1/2 inch and continue on the bottom and the right side. Turn your paper and do it on the right side as well. You won't need to do it on the top and the left side as we're not adding anything to the ceiling or the left wall. In step 16, you'll notice it's going to ask you to connect each dot you just created to the central vanishing point. This is a very precise thing that you'll need to do, otherwise it'll mess up your tiling. I'll be turning my T-square upside down. You'll see me line up the first one from CVP to C, and then I'll continue every dot all the way around. After I do the first 2, you'll understand the process. Line up CVP with C. This should also line up with your green line that you created for your corner. Move to the next dot and make sure you're hitting directly on your central vanishing point. We're going to continue this process all the way around the bottom and on the right side. You can see the precision as all these lines are connected to that central vanishing point. Make sure you're connecting to one point with all of these. From here, we'll need to identify our measurement points for step number 17. The measurement points are going to be a 45-degree angle from the station point to the horizon line. In order to find these, you're going to go 6.5 inches from the central vanishing point to the left and 6.5 inches from the central vanishing point to the right. You're going to identify these 2 points as MP1 and MP2. So I'll take my ruler or T-square. I'm just going to put it at 12 in the center. And again, if this is 3, you'll have 3.5 outside of that. 1, 2, 3.5. Label that MP1. You're going to do the same thing on the right side. You already have 3. So 1, 2, 3. Wait, sorry. 1, 2, 3.5. And that's going to be MP2. For step 18, we'll use a combination of graphite and yellow coal erase pencil. You're going to connect the MP1 to the station point. the station point to MP2, and MP2 to C. The second part of step 19 will be to identify your dots. Your first one is a given on C. The next thing you'll do is follow this line, these receding lines as they move back. Follow it till it hits the yellow line and you'll see that you can put a dot there. Follow the next one to the next yellow line here and put a dot. So wherever these receding lines intersect, you're going to put a dot. Make sure these are small and accurate. This is determining your horizontal lines for your grid. For step 20, you're going to lock your T-square on your left side. Maybe easier to do it from the right side if you're left-handed. When you go to draw these lines, you're only going to connect from this green line to this one. So you can see here the finished product and how I have my dots right here. So all you're going to do is line your T-square up so that you're going from that dot using your T-square all the way over to this line right here. You're going to repeat that for every dot that you see. You'll notice that these horizontal lines hit along that dot and go from this side to this side, and these tiles progressively get smaller as they move back in perspective. So you want to make sure yours does the same thing. I'll continue this all the way back for each dot that I've created. For step 20, we need to identify our vertical lines that go on the right wall only. These lines will extend from this green line to this one. How it works is every time you see this horizontal line come over, you're going to stop here, use a T-square, and go up to the green line. Very similar to the picture plane itself. So if you follow the second line here, you're going to go over. Once that hits here, you'll use a T-square to go straight up. Let me show you. I'm going to lock my T-square on the bottom side of my paper, and I'm going to find this part right here where the first line hits that green line. Press down, and I'll only go from this green line to this one. I'll do it again on the second one. So do you see where that line hits the green one? This horizontal line hits the green one. We'll go straight up to this green line. Use your T-square to keep a straight line. Continue to lock that on the bottom of your paper. Press down, go straight up. You'll continue this all the way back. Once you've finished your vertical lines, you've completed the first section. And the first section is basically here, 1-point perspective setup. We've gone all the way through step 21, and this is your result. To move on to 1-point perspective room, you'll need tracing paper to put on top of this. You won't be needing the cool erase pencils anymore, and you'll see a separate video for that.